City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! We did it!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Good morning. Welcome to our grand finale. Hoop City with Paul Sir's last show for the season is today. And we're going to try Josh Fenwick to go out with a bang. We've got a lot to talk about in the basketball world. Great guests today. Good local content, interesting local content. The executive director at Alberta Basketball Association, Dave Drabiak, is going to join us at 10:20 to talk about the new Alberta Basketball Hall of Fame. And it's exciting to see this come to fruition. On August 29th, there'll be a big gala, and Dave's going to tell us all about that. 11 o'clock, we're going to have Doug McLean in, talk about what's going on with the Edmonton Stingers and the CEBL as the season moves along. At 11:20, we're going to bring in Ryan Wolstad from the Toronto Sun. We'll talk about the recent NBA draft, what the Raptors have been able to do, and what he thinks some of the other key offseason moves will be as the Raptors prepare for 26 and 27. Josh Fenwick, good morning.
Morning, Paul. How are we doing today?
We're doing great. Doing great. I must admit, a bit melancholy. Josh, this is my 11th year of doing a variation of the basketball show program in the Edmonton area, which seems almost surreal to do 11 seasons, starting over, of course, at TSN 1260 with Mark Majot way back in the day. And now to be able to have this opportunity at Sports 1440, and it's really a week of change at Sports 1440. We'll talk about that a bit in the last segment. But it's been an absolute privilege and so much fun this year working with you, Josh, and really excited about, like I said, going out with a bang on our last show today.
I agree. I had a great year working with you. I've learned a lot on how to discuss the game more in depth and everything of the such. And made some memories, and I'm looking forward to going out with a bang as well.
Fantastic. By the way, if you have any questions, thoughts on the NBA draft, on the trades that are taking place, Raptors, Bucks, Heat, you name it, WNBA, Toronto Tempo, my God, what a game the other night for Marina Mabrey. 53 points, tying the all-time WNBA single game scoring record. Just a phenomenal performance. But you can always get to us at 833-401-1440. Again, 833-401-1440. All right, Josh, let's kick it off.
All right. So, number one, leading it off with, it seems Kawhi Leonard's time with the Clippers is coming to an end, per reports from Mark Stein. And the two leading names for trading for Kawhi Leonard are the Spurs, the team that drafted him, traded for him technically, because shout out to the Pacers, and the Raptors, who traded for Kawhi from the Spurs. I am all for a reunion between the Raptors and Kawhi Leonard.
Really is intriguing because Kawhi Leonard, given the fact that he's over 35 now, you would think there was a bit of a downward trend that might be taking place in his game, but that certainly was not the case this past season. Kawhi played extremely well, all-star level performance. And if Kawhi was in Toronto, he would address some serious deficiencies that the Raptors have. Number one, three-point shooting. Kawhi's an excellent three-point shooter. It would be an interesting fit in many respects, and it also will be interesting in seeing what the Raptors have to move around in order to be able to pay Kawhi. But yeah, I'm all in as well. Like, he's a head case. He's weird. There's still this bizarre lawsuit or investigation going on about his phantom sponsorship pay as a way to beat the salary cap, or so it would seem from the outside looking in. So that hasn't been addressed as of yet. But, it's not like Kawhi comes in unscathed. But, everything Kawhi does just seems to have a little bit of an edge to it. But I think it's a great idea. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, you bring him back. you bring him back, and I think it's a good story because I think he would end up finishing his career with the Raptors. Also, we saw like OG Anunoby has progressed his offensive game so far and his defensive game so far. And when he was younger, he had the ability for, even if it was just a season, to learn from Kawhi Leonard. I think Scotty Barnes could take a lot of tutelage from Kawhi Leonard and his experience of being a two-time Defensive Player of the Year, a two-time Finals MVP, the best player on a championship team in the city where he is. In a roundabout way, I think it would work out great. And then as well, the package would have to be centered around Brandon Ingram. And bless up, I don't want to see Brandon Ingram in a Raptors uniform next year.
It's interesting how certain players and the way they carry themselves, conduct themselves, talk to the media, their body language on the court, all of those things. Brandon Ingram does not do himself any favors in all of those departments. So I think there's a lot of people, Josh, that share the same sentiment that you have regarding Ingram as a Raptor. And if they had the choice, I think, as you just stated, they would probably prefer having Kawhi here. Now, remember Kawhi and his weird departure from Toronto. And when you look at really what has been 6 lost years in the wilderness, doing God knows what with the Clippers, has been just a weird, really weird experiment that never bore fruit in the way that I think that they envisioned at all. Like, they were thinking championship, and they were anything but champions. Having said that, Kawhi Leonard plays hard every night and plays at a very, very high level, and he seems like he has a lot of gas left in the tank. So let's see what the Raptors can put together. It's intriguing to hear about.
Yeah, me too. And it's a season ticket seller as well, which I don't think MLSC is against. Absolutely. I am ready to get hurt again. Number 2, we were talking about this right before the show started. The draft sucks. I could give a rip about Spike Lee talking to guys about the Knicks and their draft pick or whatever. Just give me draft experts exclusively and their live reactions. Like, sort of let them go controller unplugged. I brought up the perfect example to you from 2014 when Bill Simmons was still with ESPN doing draft coverage, and the Cavs selected Anthony Bennett, and he was like, "Oh my God, what are they doing? Like, this is nobody saw this coming." I would rather see that than seeing, as I said, Spike Lee talking to some guys about the Knicks draft pick. I would rather hear about the last draft pick from Brian Windhorst or Scott Van Pelt or whoever it is.
God, yeah.
Like, give me those guys because they're the experts. When I'm watching the draft, like, which I don't like to do anyways, but if I'm watching it, tailor it to the people who want to watch the draft, because the people who are watching the draft don't care about Spike Lee either. They care about the player that their team is drafting. Give them the information that they are so looking for.
It was an interesting stat that I read, and I don't know if it's accurate or if it was just hype, but the estimate on how much Spike Lee has spent on season tickets and courtside seats over his lifetime is something like 10 plus million that he has contributed to the New York Knicks coffers. And I think that might be part of the reason, because Spike Lee is so identified with the Knicks over the past 3 decades. But to your point, I totally agree with you. There's nothing more annoying than getting a star who isn't a player talking to people about fluff. But I think a lot of coverage has gone the way of the fluff. I hate when players are mic'd up during the game. I hate that. I hate the huddle cam, because everything that they show you is sanitized by the team that they're focusing on or the player. Hey, come on, pick up. I got yours. I mean, when I hear the players out on the court saying nothing, it gives you no real value or feeling for what's going on the court. The NBA in its coverage, they're always trying new things. And boy, do they miss the mark quite frequently, to your point. They certainly did in this case. They took a draft that was predictable, filled with a lot of talent. There's a lot of superb first-round players going into the NBA next year that we should see on the court quite a bit. and also some intriguing second round picks that came out as well. I'd rather focus on that, like you said, Josh, with experts as opposed to the fluff. But of course, the NBA always falls prey to their base instincts of how they can add some sort of sizzle to this. And that certainly doesn't get it done in my books as well.
Yeah, listen, I understand the attempting to grow the game and get more people interested in it, whatever.
Does that
and
do one thing to do that, though? I mean,
I know,
but
like I get it, but that sucks. Like
and it was bad too.
The reason that it works in baseball is because I love baseball. I played a lot of baseball growing up. There's not a lot that happens.
Up, by the way, Josh.
I know, but like as a wee lad, I played 10 years of baseball. There's not a lot that really happens. You can have a player, which they do an entire interview while playing shortstop. And then you do get cool moments where a guy's like, oh, hold on, I'll answer that in a second. I just got to make this play real quick. And then the shortstop fields the ball and hurls it over to first. And then, oh, he gone. Like that's fine. Basketball is super high paced. It's super fast. Not as fast as hockey, but then like, yeah, I don't care about what's going on in the huddle. I don't need to hear the play that they're drawing up, and
you'll never see the play anyway. They never show the play. They just show the coach either reaming the players out if they're playing poorly, but more often than not, saying the same thing over and over again. Hey, we've got this. You just got to effort, got to hit the offensive glass, got to move the ball on offense. All those things. It really doesn't shed any real light into it. It's made for TV fluff.
I think the guy that killed that, though, however, was Darvin Ham. What was it that he wrote on the clipboard instead of drawing a play? He wrote like work as a team or something. It's like, drop a play, man. Let's go.
Work as a team. Yeah, they need a reminder of that.
Oh, man. I wish I could remember the exact thing that he wrote on that whiteboard, but I was like, I can't believe Lakers fans are in purgatory right now, but they're the Lakers, so I don't really feel all that bad.
Of course. Let's go to number 3.
All right, number 3, going back to the trade route. There have been a lot of trades this last week. Obviously, the Giannis saga comes to an end. However, the trade I am more interested in is the Hornets trading LaMelo Ball to your Minnesota Timberwolves, who also extend Ayo Dosunmu. Great signing, by the way. You're getting him for cheap. Was it 5 years, 112? That's a great deal. That's a bargain. I do not understand why the Hornets started shopping LaMelo Ball.
Well, I don't understand why the Wolves want LaMelo Ball. Like LaMelo Ball, he had a great year. The Hornets had a phenomenal second half of their season. And LaMelo Ball was a huge contributor. He finally looked like somebody who was an actual adult playing basketball, where before he looked just like some kid playing rat ball and just fooling around. Is he, it gets brought up oftentimes about LaMelo. Is he an entertainer or is he a competitor? And I think those are fair questions. The second half of the season, he appeared that he was a competitor. Why would they want to break that up? I don't know. I don't understand it as well. Although getting Naz Reid, that's a nice addition to have come into your lineup. You've got somebody who is stable, who is tough, who can score in a variety of ways. He's a very good defender, rebounder, passer, and scorer. And that's where I go to, what the heck are the Timberwolves thinking? My God, Julius Randle, of course, that made sense. It just did not work. And certainly we saw his performance in the playoff was inexplicably bad. He didn't do what Julius Randle can do. And if he's not going to be a back-to-the-basket bully, then you really have a player who's trying to settle for threes and playing soft, wasn't rebounding well, wasn't defending well. That was a great move. Addition by subtraction. Get rid of him. And they did that. They accomplished that. This one, though, what are the behind-the-scenes motivations that went into this? Is this something that Anthony Edwards wants? He wants to run with LaMelo Ball. Here's what I don't understand, Josh. They're both ball-dominant players.
Yeah.
High usage, ball-dominant, have the ball in their hands for a lot of the shot clock players. I don't understand it. LaMelo Ball can't guard. He's not not just not an elite defender. He's not a good defender. So what the Wolves are thinking, I don't know. And now You've got Rudy Gobert. And then what? For your bigs, what do you have? They really have nothing in the kitchen right now. And so this is a mystery to me. Now, maybe there's some genius plan that's taking shape in the boardroom right now. Maybe we'll see. Of course, there's a lot of movement that could still happen. Heck, they could trade LaMelo Ball for someone else. We'll have to wait and see. But it's certainly, my grade for this is D- for both teams. D- for the Wolves, B for the Hornets, because they got a solid player who's also a great teammate in the locker room that you can rely on.
Yeah, I understand it from the Wolves' perspective, because I think they're hoping they can change LaMelo Ball a touch, because they still have Mike Conley, who's a good point guard for his entire career, is a good playmaker, as is LaMelo Ball. He can get the assists. He has the court vision. But you're right. He is so ball dominant. But also, Ant is not a good playmaker. He's a good shot creator for himself, and that opens up the floor for other guys. He needs to work on his vision, but I think you'd rather just have him be the guy that's like, yeah, man, if you can get us 4 assists, cool. Put the ball in the bottom of the basket. LaMelo is the guy that's going to have to change his game. I don't think he's going to be open to that. And then the reason I don't get it for the Hornets is because you had the most exciting team in the NBA for 4 months. Everyone was pulling for them to make the playoffs. And now you basically have the city of Charlotte. I've been on Charlotte Twitter, basically in a blender, that are so upset. And then who are you going to get in to come play point guard for you now?
Yeah, they don't have a point guard.
They don't have a point guard.
I know. Both teams don't have what LaMelo Ball. Both teams didn't. What's the best way to put it? I'm not saying it correctly. Neither team has a good fit for LaMelo. The Hornets getting Nasri, yeah, that's great. But who's going to be the point guard? The Wolves. Why do you need LaMelo Ball when you've got Dosunmu, who would be a perfect complement, in my opinion, to Anthony Edwards, because he's really unselfish. He's an explosive player, an excellent defender.
He's a great defender.
And he gets out in the open court in transition and does a phenomenal job. Like, it seemed like such a good fit. So it remains to be seen. But there again, the Timberwolves make strange trades. When the Rudy Gobert trade was still strange. Getting Julius Randle, strange. They had an odd fit. I always make the comparison to Toy Story with the kid that had the toys that he would cobble together with, baby's head and a spider's arms, things like that. Like, that's how I view the Wolves. They just had these weird pieces that, even though they were odd fit, Chris Finch and his staff still found ways for the teams to be successful over the past 4 years. But this one's a mystery to me. It certainly is. So, those. I think what's interesting post-draft now, because, the draft took place this week. No big surprise. Devonta to Washington. I see Washington decide Trey up to a 4-year deal. So they've got, they've got some pieces now. Veterans, if they can stay healthy, that's the big question with both Trey and his running mate that's come in as well. I think, but they have a spectacular young talent in Devonta. Is he the next Kevin Durant? I don't think so, but maybe something along those lines. He certainly has a tremendous amount of ability. So I think, they're at a good, Washington's got at an interesting place. They're going to be one of the interesting teams to watch. A team that I think did really well in the draft is Oklahoma City. Picking up Mara from Michigan, 7'3". What a great acquisition for a guy that can rim protect and finishes efficiently around the basket. They've just re-signed Hartenstein. Most likely Lou Dort won't be there. But they also picked up my guy, Bennett Sturtz from the University of Iowa. What a great addition to bring somebody in off the bench who's going to learn from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You can't learn from anybody better. But that is a knockdown three-point shooter and won't have the pressure yet at the University of Iowa, where he had to literally create almost every offensive sequence for the team. he can fit in right now. I think he's a good acquisition. He won't be an elite defender, certainly nothing like Dort. But in terms of role players, which the Thunder do as good a job as anybody in the league in terms of bringing players in that can do certain things really well and build around their strengths, certainly around SGA and Holmgren. I think those are two great acquisitions for what is already a very, very strong lineup. So we're going to take a break right now. Great questions, by the way, Josh. Thank you.
No, thank you, Paul, for your insight.
And we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll bring back the executive director of Alberta Basketball Association. We'll talk about the upcoming gala for the new ABA Hall of Fame. You're listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick, on your sports leader, Sports 1440.
If you're without personal health insurance benefits from your employer and are self-employed or retiring, contact Innovative Benefits. Innovative Benefits helps break down personal health plans to put you in the driver's seat and reduce your net cost. They'll help identify the best plan for you and your family so you can pay for what you do use and look how to reduce what you don't use. Don't be left out in the cold. Understand all your options with Innovative Benefits. For more information, visit innovativebenefits.ca today.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is serious about cooling. In fact, we offer multiple ways to cool your home. So you better
call Legacy. Call Legacy.
If you're looking for traditional air conditioning, we got you.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Or ask us about a heat pump to help you heat and cool.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Cool with AC or cool with a heat pump. Cool your home with Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Real protection starts from the ground up. Timberland Pro Boondock Boots provide industrial-grade protection and legendary durability. Their new BOA series give you unmatched fit and performance coupled with all-day anti-fatigue comfort. Find the largest selection of Timberland Boondock BOAs at all 3 of our Edmonton job site workwear locations and online at jobsiteworkwear.ca.
Job site workwear, tough gear for tough jobs.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440, powered by Subaru. Welcome to Uncommon. Visit Subaru.ca.
Get ready for Ready Mix Concrete Wetaskiwin, now also in Camrose and Pinoka. One call does it all. 780-352-4301.
You probably know Stingray for radio advertising.
What about digital advertising?
Yeah, we do that.
Connected TV?
We do that.
Search and social?
And that.
Programmatic? Digital out of home?
We do it all. Endless digital platforms to connect your business to more customers, to intrigue them, engage them, so they choose your product or service. Get started now at stingraymediasolutions.com and let us help your business grow. We are Stingray. That's what we do.
It might have been scraped by the snowblower, dented while door crashing, or crunched at the company Christmas party. At some point over the winter, your car was damaged and it's been hiding under a coat of winter grime.
Then come and see Robertson Body Works. We can take care of the damage and the dirt. This week only, call and book a repair and get a complete auto detailing absolutely free.
But you have to book your appointment before the week is up. Go to robertsonbodyworks.com.
I'm Tim Robertson, and I fix cars.
Edmonton's only 24-hour-a-day sports radio station can be heard anytime, anywhere. Sports 1440 is streaming on your phone, your tablet, your computer.
Download an app today
and listen to Sports 1440.
1440.
You say no, you say stop, I say go, go, go. Oh no, you say goodbye.
This is Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! We did it!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Welcome back. Hoop City, Paul Sir. Josh Fenwick here on this rainy Saturday morning in the capital city. I'm really pleased to have our next guest on, Dave Drabiak, a longtime head coach at the University of Alberta at Augustana, is with us today. Dave now is in his third year, of coming up to his third year as the executive director at the Alberta Basketball Association, and they recently had some very exciting news. Everybody knew, or a lot of people knew in the community, that this was in the works. But now to have the gala announced for August, and we're here to talk to Dave about the Alberta Basketball Hall of Fame. Dave, thanks so much for making time to join me this morning.
Thanks for having me on, Paul. It's great to talk hoops with you anytime.
Absolutely. So, Dave, talk about the Hall of Fame, how it came about, the process that you had to go through in order to bring it to fruition and to get it to this point where it is now a reality.
As you know, from many years of service to basketball in the province, often these start as a passion project. They start with one or two individuals that are incredibly motivated and fired up and want to have a project of this size come to reality. So I think we can all agree, those of us that are long time or even short time in the Alberta basketball community, this was we have the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame, who have been incredibly supportive to us through all of this, with resourcing and just guidance in general. They've been amazing. And then there's, of course, the Canadian Basketball Hall of Fame and the National Sports Hall of Fame, but we didn't have anything that identified and really preserved the history and the legacy of the game in Alberta specifically. So then we had two board members that were incredibly passionate about this, and myself, and two really dedicated volunteers who I'm sure you're pretty familiar with, in Doug McLean and Brian Swain. And suddenly we had a committee, and then it became recruiting the right other passionate individuals to the committee and starting to build some criteria and really starting with the end in mind, which is how do we honor the history and the legacy of basketball in Alberta and its effect that it's had on the national and international stage. And this started shortly after I got the job, and it took this long to get our first induction ceremony that we're calling a gala off the ground for August 29th.
Okay, so we'll come back to the details on the August 29th event, which is very, very exciting. You got you and all of your coworkers, Natalie, Reagan, Brian, all put so much effort into the 50th anniversary of Alberta basketball. It was a wonderful celebration, brought so much attention now. And at that particular gala as well, where John Stockton came in and did a wonderful job as your guest speaker. It was a great night. And but you announced there, you even announced some of the inductees. So why don't you tell our listeners and viewers who some of the initial inductees are that, of course, they may very well be familiar with, but that are announced. And I know you still have others that you will be announcing, but talk about the ones that are already in the public domain.
Sure. I'll start with this recap, I guess. Because this started and really was a partner project with the 50th anniversary, we borrowed a little bit from Bill Simmons, and we thought, why don't we do 50 and 50? You know, why don't we, or 54-50, and talk about, can we, because we had a backlog, right? We had this first ever, so we've got, between men and women players, we've got 21 nominees going in. We've got 8 builders, we've got 11 coaches, 7 officials, and 4 teams that we're naming. The committee has decided for the first class. So some obvious ones that we've already announced for sure are J. Percy Page, who goes in 2 categories, as a builder and a coach, and obviously the team he coached, the Edmonton Grads. Those were announced at the banquet, or at the gala rather. I don't know if you're aware of this, but subsequent to the gala, Steve Sir got his official call, if you will. And so Steve will be one of the inductees in August, going in with Carl Tillman, a bit of a Calgary and Alberta legend who was named.
Shooters. How'd you like to have those guys on the wings?
Well, no kidding. Along with Phil and Tim Tolstrip.
Oh my God.
That wouldn't be a bad lineup. And then you throw another, let's throw an Edmonton name in there, Jermaine Buckner.
Yeah, those guys can play a little bit.
Along with Kyle Landry. I'll let you decide who comes off the bench there.
No comment.
Yeah. Kelly Boucher, we announced on the women's side. Jody Evans, Tony Kordick, Carla Karch, Shauna, she was known as Shauna Molchak back in her playing days. Michelle and Catherine Plouffe should be a name very familiar to your listeners.
Absolutely.
Leanne Doan Reimer. And then Veronica Den Oosten, who was known as Veronica Vandershee when she played at the University of Calgary. I mean, those are some pretty esteemed names. Yeah.
Powerful group. So many to honor. And Dave, the fact that you and your partners, committee members, volunteers have worked so hard to assemble this. Share with us what the Hall of Fame will be. I'm assuming to start with, it will be a virtual Hall of Fame. Is the goal for the future to have an actual Hall of Fame facility?
We've looked at a couple of scenarios. As there are some facilities in the works in a couple of, in Edmonton and in Calgary, we've started the preliminary process of what would a physical space look like. Similar to if you go to the Saville Community Center upstairs, there's a grads display area. Would it be possible for ABA to get some display area in a couple of those facilities and be able to rotate some? Alberta Sports Hall of Fame uses the phrase or uses the term artifacts to just
sounds
that one hits me a little hard these days.
Ancient Egypt, but yeah, let's go with artifacts. That sounds great.
Can we do a rotation of artifacts? Can we do some sort of rotating display of information? We've spoken to the Alberta Sports Hall about once a month, moving forward, once a month leading up to our gala or our induction ceremony. They have a space that they can dedicate that'll be a display for a month at the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame as our Hall of Fame. But for right now, it'll be virtual. It'll have a website presence that is under construction. On our social media, there are feature videos coming out. So if anyone remembers the campaign for the 50th, where we did the 50 greatest moments and had those vignette clips, if you will, we're doing very similar for each Hall of Fame inductee. And eventually those will find a home on that website and on our YouTube channel as well, so people can go and see them virtually. There will be updated bios on all the Hall of Famers, and then we will be putting a call out once the website is up for anyone who has scrapbook photos, random pieces that they're like, well, what am I going to do with this? But it's a shame. We'll take them, scan them, give them a home virtually, so at least they're not lost. They're in a digital archive somewhere. And again, the Alberta Sports Hall has been very generous with their time and their space, and they said they'll help us if someone's got an old jersey from their playing days and they would like to donate it to us. They've got climate controlled space and some of the things that we don't have yet to look after some of that.
I'm talking to Dave Drabiak. He is the executive director of the Alberta Basketball Association, joining us here today on Hoop City with Paul Sir and Josh Fenwick on Sports 1440. We're talking about the newly announced gala coming up on August 29th, celebrating the announcement of the Alberta Basketball Hall of Fame. Dave, talk about the gala itself. Where will it be held? How do people get tickets? Talk about talk about where people can go to buy their tickets and support this great event.
It'll be at the Edmonton Expo Center in their ballroom area. We're excited to be working with Expo again. That's where we ran the anniversary event, and they worked with us so well. It was a real treat to go back there again. You can go to aba.simpletix.com That's simpletix.ca, and that'll take you to our box office, they call it, and you'll have an opportunity to purchase your gala tickets there. And there's lots of detail on the run of the evening, from when cocktails start to dinner program and just how long the evening will run. In addition to the gala on the 29th, on the 29th and 30th, we are running what we're calling the Hall of Fame Coaches Clinic and Hall of Fame Officials Clinic. We've asked some of the Hall of Famers to be presenters and speakers, and then we'll fill with some great resources and some great speakers, so people can purchase their gala tickets and then get coach or official clinic registration at a discount there. Or if you're just interested in the gala, that's all available to you there. So it'll be a great program starting in the early evening around 5 o'clock. And as you can imagine, with 50 Hall of Famers and trying to give everyone their due moment in the spotlight, it will not be an hour-long program. It'll be a good night to celebrate the history of basketball, but it will be a night.
As it should be. It should be. Many, many nights. But the fact that this is coming together, coming to fruition, becoming a reality, Dave, very, very exciting to hear about. Again, please share that website one more time.
Sure. aba.simpletix.ca. We'll get them there.
aba.simpletix.ca. You have a busy summer, Dave. You've got provincial teams happening. You've got all this stuff going on. Plus, you're planning for this little banquet, this little get-together.
Just a little get-together, yeah.
So very, very excited about it. So pleased that you could join me today, Dave. Share this information. All the best with the lead up to it. I hope everything comes together the way you envision. And kudos to you, Brian, Doug, everyone involved, for all that you've done to make this a reality, to celebrate all the great teams, players, and moments in the history of basketball in our wonderful province.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for those kind words, and really appreciate the time to come here and speak to your audience. And we're looking forward to an amazing summer and just a fantastic event in August, and I hope we'll see you there.
Dave Drabiak, Executive Director, Alberta Basketball Association, joining me here on Hoop City with Paul Sir in our season finale. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, oh boy, we've got lots to talk about, including WNBA, some more NBA stuff, before we get to Doug McLean at the top of the hour. Speaking of Doug, you're listening to Hoop City, Paul Sir, Sports 1440.
Hey, it's Jamie from Green Drop Lawn Care. They may be teeny tiny, but chinch bugs can completely devastate your lawn or garden. If you have yellowing grass that doesn't improve with watering, you may already have them. At Green Drop, we'll identify them, treat them, and help you recover from the damage before it's out of control. Stop chinch bugs cold with Green Drop Lawn Care, Canada's lawn expert since 1979. Find out more and get started at greendrop.com.
Around the world, from London,
Tokyo, Japan,
from New York, this is News Central. London, Tokyo, New York, Ottawa, Sao Paulo. Right now, the world's greatest newsrooms are on the air. BBC World Service, CNN, Fox News Radio, MS Now, AP Radio. Every perspective, every language, every breaking story live on TuneIn. Because when the news is big, one source is never enough. Download the TuneIn app to listen or search news on TuneIn to stay in the know.
Hey, Gary, is that your dad?
No, this is Evan, the new sales rep I hired.
Oh.
First impressions matter, but when hair loss takes over, it can feel like you're not being seen for the maverick you truly are. Hi, I'm Dr. Vance Elliott. At Advanced Hair and Skin Surgery, we know that hair loss is more than just a cosmetic issue. It's personal. Let's discuss all the cutting-edge options available so you can make a great impression every time.
Book a free consultation today at drvanceelliott.com.
All the protection you want, none of the weight. Introducing Timberland Pro's Boondock Ultra Light Work Boots, the lightest Boondock yet, with the Timberland durability you expect. Conquer long shifts, move faster, and work safer with all-day comfort in a lightweight package. Find your Boondock Ultralights now at all three of our Edmonton job site workwear locations and online at jobsiteworkwear.ca.
Job site workwear, tough for tough jobs.
Here's what you need to know about Lux Windows. We work hard. We come in early, we stay late, we go above and beyond, and then we go a little further. Not for awards or a pat on the back. We work hard so that choosing our windows and doors is an easy decision for you. It's the Alberta way. It's the Lux way. Everything we are is windows and doors. A company born and bred and made in Alberta.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. A top safety pick for unmatched peace of mind. Visit Subaru.ca.
Get ready for Ready Mix Concrete Wetaskiwin. Now also in Camrose and Pinoka. One call does it all. 780-352-4301.
Want sports talk on the go?
You can listen to 1440 on the AM dial or stream us on your mobile device through apps like Radio Player, iHeart, and Stingray Music.
Edmonton sports fans,
turn to Sports 1440.
1440.
This is Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! We did it!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Welcome back. Hoop City, Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick this morning. My theme for music today is goodbyes, Josh, because as we wind our season down, there's a bit of melancholy that I feel, joy and melancholy all at the same time. And want the music to reflect that mood as well today. Let's jump. But first, I'm going to make an announcement. I'm really excited about this. In 2 weeks, we, a group of people, Jacob Wachecki and his great folks with his AOB club, along with the great folks over at Legacy Sports, we're going to be starting up a big 3x3 movement, I would call it, in the city of Edmonton. In 2 weeks, we're going to be hosting the Hoop City 3x3 Edmonton Federation of Community League Festival down at the Fan Park, downtown Edmonton. It's no stranger to anybody. It's only $75 for your team of up to 5 players to get in. We have age groups. We don't have adults, but we do have age groups from U13 to U18. Everybody's welcome to come and play. Do not let money be an issue. If your team has a financial need, please contact us. We will make it work for you. But for $75, you get a reversible. You're going to get some great basketball through the day on Saturday, the 11th. There's also the ABA traditional 3x3 event happening at the Saville Center that day. So lots of 3x3 happening in the city. And then, of course, Legacy Athletics, they're going to be the host site for the Hoop City 3x3 League. And this, again, is from youth, U11, up through adult, men, women, boys, girls. And this is going to run for 6 weekends. It's a phenomenal league. Talk to Brett Zane and the great crew over at Legacy. You have a chance to diversify how your kids play for the summer. If you want to learn how to play basketball, play 3x3. Anybody who's coached or played has had 3x3 as a part of their basketball diet. And we've been working a long time. I've been passionate about 3x3 really since the beginning. I share this often because it shows my age, Josh. I played in my first 3-on-3 league in 1971. And I organized 3-on-3 leagues at the university I played at a bit later in my life. So always have loved 3-on-3, evolving into the Olympic sport of 3x3. Edmonton has been the leader in 3x3. Alberta Basketball is the leader, was the leader now. 3x3 Basketball Association has added its hand in growing the game. So if you want information on the Hoop City 3x3 EFCL event, you can find it on our website at 3x3ba.ca. Let's jump over and talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about the WNBA, and then if we have a few minutes before we bring Doug on, we'll go back to the NBA. But I want to talk about the WNBA. What a great accomplishment this week for the Toronto Tempo's Marina Mabrey. 53 points in their resounding victory over the Los Angeles Sparks. Mabrey, 53 points, 9 3-pointers. Obviously a phenomenal night. Tied the all-time scoring record for the WNBA. I watched the first game that the Tempo played, and I really hadn't seen Mabrey play before. But I watched her and I go, man, can she play? She's a competitor. She shoots it. She goes to the rim hard. She defends. She rebounds. She's just a fantastic basketball player. But then, Josh, she had one of those nights. She had the night that players dream of. And when you persist in basketball, that's when the Michael Jordans get 63, Larry Bird gets 61, Kobe gets 80. What did he get against the Raptors?
He got 81.
81 against the Raptors. Wilt got his 100 that nobody.
It goes Wilt, Bam, Kobe. Don't forget.
Oh, Bam. I don't count it.
Whatever. Wilt, Bam, Kobe.
Wilt, Bam,
83
Kobe.
is 83.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Amazing night for Bam. So that's a bit petty on my part. But anyway, Mabrey, what a great night. And what a great thing. What a great accomplishment for this league. Now we should be celebrating it. And instead, I'm going to talk about what really is the story in the WNBA. It should be Mabrey's 53. It should be the Temple being competitive. There should be these storylines, these resurgence of the surge of the Dallas Wings and their duo of Fudd and Beckers, leading them to a big turnaround down in Dallas. And instead, I'm going to talk about what the real story is the ongoing abusive treatment and absolutely bizarre, inexcusable. I wrote a couple of other words down here. I want to find them right now. Here it is. The point of being stupid, embarrassing, letting it get out of hand, and this ridiculous league that considers itself to be professional, that, by the way, is subsidized by the NBA. And this is not derogatory. This is fact. Has never turned a profit. Last year, in spite of record numbers in attendance and in viewership, they lost $40 million as a league. In the offseason, they got this wonderful collective bargaining agreement that, no, it's not on par with the NBA, but neither is the WNBA on par with the NBA. But now, disproportionate to the money it generates, the players are getting the treatment that they deserve. More money, better travel, better facilities, all of the stuff that big-time pro athletes should have. They are getting now. They are getting. And if they keep performing, if the viewership keeps growing, if sponsorship keeps growing, the money's going to get bigger and bigger over time. Isn't that wonderful? Especially since it's due to one person, Caitlin Clark. That's the only reason this is happening. Otherwise, they would continue to languish. And the reason Caitlin Clark changed the trajectory of the WNBA is because she's fun to watch, just like Pistol Pete was. And he's the best comparison that I can come up with. And here's the other comparison I would add to this, Josh. When Pistol Pete came out of college basketball and went into the NBA, he also was targeted because there was resentment. How did this guy get all this attention? Why should he be treated so special? I'm going to show him he really isn't that good. Now, Pistol Pete had a borderline Hall of Fame NBA career, probably an NBA career, led the league in scoring, multiple-year All-Star. But what Pistol Pete's contribution really was changing how people understood that the game could be played. There are pioneers along the way in every sport, but in basketball, Cousy into the Celtics, Wilt with his great athleticism and being such a disproportionately big, wonderful athlete, evolving into Bird and Magic, which really saved and springboarded the NBA into the next level, coming with Michael Jordan, Dr. J, who was preceded by both Gus Johnson and Connie Hawkins, that Dr. J then built on with his swooping athletic moves, spectacular high-flying dunks. Into Jordan, like I mentioned, kind of the dead era in the early 2000s. Yeah, there was Allen Iverson, but man, that was a boring era of basketball. Kobe, Shaq, Lakers, yeah, they were good. They were good. Not particularly fun to watch, but they were good. But then in the 2010s with the emergence of Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors, and then into today with all of the great athletes that we have playing in the league today, you have to look at and say we stand on the shoulders of those that came before us and really revolutionized the game. Caitlin Clark's that player, and she gets abused consistently, and the league turns a blind eye. The officials are god-awful. It's an embarrassment to watch the WNBA officiating. You have to go to replay to see that play. You couldn't have done that on the court to see Alyssa Thomas jamming her fist into Caitlin Clark's throat when she's vulnerable and on the floor. Now, there's lots of reasons, and some of them I'm not going to go into today. But it is so demeaning to the league, and it speaks so poorly of the league, and I've used this phrase many, many times. Not ready for prime time. Not ready. You don't have to kiss Caitlin Clark's butt. But what you have to do is you have to treat her like everybody else when she's competing. And you can't let her be targeted. You can't let her be abused. And then you can't have a weak coach, which she has. She's terrible. You have a weak coach who finally has spoken up, who still doesn't know quite how to use her. She's getting better, but she still doesn't understand how to use her as a player. In a league where I don't care if it's Angel Reese, and not just to pick on her, but any of the other players who are great. Asia Wilson's best player in the league. Angel Reese is having a really good year. You wouldn't know Angel Reese's name if Caitlin Clark hadn't come into the league. And that's not any shot at Angel Reese. Tiger Woods in golf. All of the players in tennis. Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, Rafa Nadal. They were the players. This is who you ride on. Bird, Magic, Jordan, like I mentioned before. In sport. Is it the same in hockey as well, Josh? Am I missing anything like in hockey, or is it not as superstar dependent as the other sports that I mentioned?
No, every sport protects their cash cows. I was telling you this in the break. Like, you got to protect the guys, or the girls in this case, that make the games watched. And Caitlin Clark sells out basically every arena that she goes to. Connor McDavid gets a better whistle because he's the best player in the NHL. And when Connor McDavid is in town, it is a show. Now, granted, the NHL isn't as big as like the NBA. So let's say like LeBron is in town. Everybody's going out to watch LeBron. Ticket sales are higher when LeBron's in town. It's the way it is, particularly when he was younger. So what do you have to do? You got to protect LeBron James. This is, granted, he did not get the whistle throughout his career, but you protect guys like Steph Curry. You protect guys like Kawhi Leonard, because these are who people come out to see. You don't want to see them on the injury reserve, which Caitlin Clark has been in a multitude of times.
And when she was playing in college, she was never injured.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she maybe missed one game in her college career. Now, the WNBA, more physical, better athletes. We know all of that. Bigger, stronger, faster. Absolutely. As I stated earlier, she's not the best player in the league. She may be one day, if injuries don't take her out of, prevent her from having the kind of career she's capable of having. Maybe she will be. Another slight. The WNBA put out a poster featuring players that had impacted the league over their 30-year history. Guess who wasn't on it? Caitlin Clark. And there's a lot of players on there. I don't even know their names. And when I looked at their stat lines, they're average at best. So WNBA, very, very frustrating because they're taking a step forward, but to see the kind of ineptitude at the head office level, at the league level, and how it trickles down, And then the outrageous, and again, I'm from Iowa, where Caitlin's from, so I am definitely a homer on this. But to see a player physically abused that goes outside the parameters of just competitive sport, that inappropriate, unnecessary, and is a big slight against the WNBA and its progress. Don't kill the goose that laid the golden egg, because this egg still is being hatched. And if 2 and 3 years from now, if this were to continue, and let's say Clark had a career-ending injury, would the league continue on the upward trajectory it's on? Maybe. Maybe that die has been cast, but maybe not. And also in the end, it's just plain wrong to allow this to happen. So, other than that, I don't care, Josh.
Oh yeah, it sounds like you're very level-headed about this whole
very
thing.
very
rational
sensible.
conversation.
Oh, normal. Just down-to-earth guy.
Everything's just good in the hood, guys.
Good in the hood.
Don't even worry.
Absolutely. We have a couple minutes before we have to go to break. Let's talk a little bit about in the NBA as well, about a couple of teams that have been, affected dramatically. Of course, let's start with the Bucks and the Heat. The Heat finally pulled the plug, as Pat Riley is wont to do. Here's my question about Giannis. Man, oh man, I hope it's worth it. The guy's hurt a lot now. He's at this stage of his career where he's having chronic injuries reduce the number of games that he's playing dramatically. So I hope it works out for them. Now he's playing for what you can argue and make a real strong argument, the best coach in the NBA, and Eric Spoelstra. Questions are, if Norm Powell, as you mentioned when we were talking off air, if he signs elsewhere, where are they going to get their three-point shooting from? Because Giannis is not being brought in as anything resembling a three-point shooter. But teaming him up alongside Bam, who's a very good player.
Scored 83 in a game.
Scored 83. That's his standard.
That's right.
He hovers around there all the time. Oh, that's right. He usually doesn't score 20. But I think I think that Giannis, Bam, intriguing. Spoelstra will do a great job, but boy, they gave up a lot. I'm curious to see, like you mentioned, if Tyler Hero stays in Milwaukee, but I like Hero. Jaquez, I love him. Where if the Bucks will let him go and let him develop, he could turn into a really, really good player. Mm-hmm. They also have Kasparas as well. And they just drafted 2 intriguing young rookies in Burris from Arizona and Ament from Tennessee that are really good, a guard and a forward. So all of a sudden, the Bucks are a completely different team, which is what they needed to become. Because whatever happened in Milwaukee over the last 3 or 4 years, what led to an NBA championship, just didn't continue down the path that it needed to continue down. And now we have the Heat with Giannis, and we're going to have 2 very, very different squads. What do you think of I was listening to Sam Mitchell on the way into the studio today on NBA radio, and they were talking about, they have this one category they use called unheralded mofo of the day.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. Very classy. The unheralded mofo of the day for them was Austin Reeves, because he signed a max deal. And the reason was Austin Reeves went to, he's from a small town in Arkansas.
Yep.
Went to Wichita State, transferred to Oklahoma, undrafted. Now, a few years later, gets a max deal in the NBA. Averaged 23 a game last year. Would have averaged more had injuries not played into it. But the thing Mitchell said, and it's a valid point. Now you have a guy making $60 million a year in Luka, injury prone, who can't guard anybody really in a serious way, and Austin Reeves, who works really hard on defense but has some athletic limitations that makes him a player that can get picked on as well. And on the backside, they really don't know what's going to happen with Ayton. Of course, LeBron James still hasn't made any commitment. But do you think, though, in your opinion, Josh, did Austin Reeves deserve a max deal?
No. Like, he's a good scorer, but like, I sort of have this thing about just like guys who can only score the pill, which is, don't get me wrong, a very, very, very hard thing to do and do it efficiently, which he does well.
Yes, he does.
But one-dimensional. It is He's a one-dimensional player. And if the shot's not falling on a night, you're like, I can't believe we're paying this bum $60 million. Like, I just you're playing him. He's to be a scorer too, you have to be ball dominant. He's dominant because he is a good post-up shooter, but he is so good at creating his own shot as well.
And he's a good passer.
And not everybody needs a max deal.
But
not everybody deserves it.
But you're dealing with a league that's drowning in money.
I know.
And that's the problem is they've got it to spend and agents want them to spend it. And then the leverage is if you don't spend it, somebody else will.
It's true.
And I mean, you're right. There are so many players. And then let's flip over to the New York Knicks, and Landry Shamet this year made the league minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And the Knicks may not be able to re-sign him because he's going to probably command $8 to $10 million a year. If you're going to pay Austin Reeves 40, isn't Shamet worth 10? Absolutely, because he was one of the cogs in the wheel that was essential to the Knicks winning a championship. The other, but he most likely will be gone from the Knicks. Somebody else will pay him.
Oh yeah.
Robinson is the question mark there. And if they don't sign Robinson, what do they do as a backup to Karl Anthony Towns? Because what was so unique about this is literally Robinson has a hard time making a free throw, even though he tries. Apparently he works extremely hard on it. It's just not there.
He's just doing his best out there, Paul.
He's just doing his best, but like 43% free throw shooter. Some people don't have a touch, and he's certainly one of those. But who's going to back up Towns? Because what Robinson did is he came in, set great screens, and the big thing he did is he kept the ball alive. He was a phenomenal offensive rebounder, and he kept the ball alive and gave the Knicks extra possessions. So that would be a big hole to fill, to find somebody who could duplicate the kind of energy that Robinson brought. So we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to bring in Doug McLean. After Doug, we're going to bring in Ryan Wolstead from the Toronto Sun. Doug's going to talk with us about the Edmonton Stingers and the CEBL. So thanks so much for spending your Saturday with us. This is Hoop City with Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick on your sports leader, Sports 1440.
Here's some fun facts about ticks. They latch on to your child or dog, carry many diseases, and their heads can keep sucking blood even if you remove the body. Isn't that fun?
Oh, I want them gone.
You need BuzzBoss, Canada's trusted pest control experts. Their licensed technicians protect your property from outdoor pests with 100% guaranteed results. They create a pest management plan so they don't come back. Trust BuzzBoss Home Pest Defense for pet, kid, and eco-friendly pest solutions. BuzzBoss.com.
Real protection starts from the ground up. Timberland Pro Boondock Boots provide industrial-grade protection and legendary durability. Their new BOA series give you unmatched fit and performance coupled with all-day anti-fatigue comfort. Find the largest selection of Timberland Boondock BOAs at all 3 of our Edmonton job site workwear locations and online at jobsiteworkwear.ca.
Job site workwear, tough different tough jobs.
No fluff, no fillers, just pure entertainment. Sports 1440 brings the heat with bold opinions, big personalities, and Edmonton's fiercest fans. This is your turf. This is Edmonton's sports leader, Sports 1440.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. Built for real-life confidence. Visit Subaru.ca.
Stay in the know with news on TuneIn. TuneIn brings together news stations from around the world so you can hear what's happening as it happens. From breaking updates to in-depth coverage, it's all in one place. Listen to stations like CNN, BBC World Service, Fox News Radio, MS Now, Sky News, and more to stay connected wherever you are. When the story changes, you'll hear it first. Download the TuneIn app to listen or search news on TuneIn to stay in the know.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
This is Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! We did it!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Continuing with the goodbye theme on our last show of the season. But I'll tell you what, to have the next guest on our last show of the season is I always look forward to our conversations. And of course, that means I'm welcoming in the play-by-play voice of the Edmonton Stingers, of course, the Alberta Golden Bears and Pandas. That's Doug McLean. Doug, good morning. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Great to have you on. Let's start with the Stingers, Doug. They had one thing I think that has been a bit surprising about this year's Stingers team is I think they've built a reputation and a bit of a tradition as being one of the stronger defensive units in the CEBL over their 8+ year history. That really doesn't seem to be the case this season. They seem to be struggling to find a defensive identity. Now, the other night, they won 112-108 or 106 victory over the Mamba in Saskatoon. Phenomenal offensive night with multiple 20-plus point games from players. But let's touch first. Well, why don't we do this? Talk about that game and the victory, and then let's get into the defense and what the Stingers are doing to address some of their defensive deficiencies.
Yeah, I mean, a huge win over Saskatoon for sure. And coming off 3 straight losses where they couldn't score to save their lives, let alone defend, to come in and put up, it was 115-108. So to put up 115 against Saskatoon, was a nice way to get themselves back on track a little bit. Nick Hornsby with a huge night, double-double. I think he had 25 points, 11 assists, and 6 or 7 rebounds. So he's kind of, as he's made his way back, now playing, I think that's his 4th game back after being in Indonesia. So a nice performance by them on that front. And again, to try to keep pace, I mean, they've got a bit of a lead on Calgary, who just had an awful season down south with only 1 win. But Calgary's not that far behind the Stingers, and with the new playoff format, top 4 on each side go through. And the top teams in the West are starting to pull away from where Edmonton's at. So they needed that victory over Saskatoon for sure. On the defensive side, it's been a bit up and down. They've had some nights this season where they're keeping teams under 80, under 85 points. It's there, it's within them. But this team on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, the hustle side, whatever metric you want to use, they have not been able to put 40 minutes together virtually all season long. And I think there are lots of reasons for that, but it's been a real up and down season, and no better explanation than 3 straight losses. And then you show up and you put up 115. So it's just been one of those years, and sitting at 4-7, they're not in a great spot. They're not in a terrible spot, but they need to get going at this midway point.
And maybe this will be the game that gets them going, because those are elite scoring numbers. Along with Nick, talk about the other players that were so effective the other night.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'll be honest, I did not get a chance to see the game. I was actually out in Vancouver doing a little bit of soccer stuff, so I'm sort of catching up a bit too. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to focus a little bit on Hornsby just because I brought him up, and I think he's just so central to this team and those numbers. And I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there was a big deficit. They were down big in the first quarter and then bounced back, and that's also been a trait of this team this year as well, where they'll get down early and then they find ways, especially in the second quarter, to bounce back. We've seen that here in Edmonton multiple times. And so again, in Saskatoon the other day, finding ways to get back in the game. So it's within them to do that. And a guy like Hornsby just makes such a difference because, and you've watched him a lot too. I mean, he's just that guy that can bring you so many different elements, whatever you need on a given night. I mean, his classic stat line is 12, 13 points, 7, 8 rebounds, 5, 6 assists. And he does that almost like clockwork every night. And that's his career stat line with the Stingers, basically. So for him able to step in and do that and just provide a bit of stability. Scotty Lindsay struggled. He came in hot, shot the ball extremely well, was actually leading the league in 3-point shooting for a stretch. He's now down to 36%. He can't find anything from long range, and shot a little bit better against Saskatoon, but still not finding that consistency there. So they're going to lean on a guy like Hornsby a little bit, I think, right now, to not be the guy that has to produce those kind of numbers every night, but just to kind of guide them through this stretch where it, again, for the last 3 weeks, it has been a bit of a mess, to put it lightly.
Well, and I think too, like just to build off of the role that Nick has with this team, he has that Swiss Army knife personality on the court where he does everything reasonably well, and then to have a particular night like this where he has a special night offensively with 25, that's a huge lift, and really what the team needed in terms of leadership to get them over that hump of scoring deficiencies that they've been battling, as you point out correctly. Now, I think, Doug, the Mamba are going to come into Edmonton next, if I'm not mistaken, certainly with revenge on their mind, but also, is this going to be a new pattern for the Stingers where they're going to be able to find a variety of players who can put up big numbers? Here's my question to you. Is that what it's going to take for the way this team is constructed to be able to win? In other words, on most nights, are they just going to have to flat out score their opponents as opposed to be able to lock them down defensively?
Well, that's a really, really good question. And I don't know that I have a great answer, because it's just hard to know night to night what you're going to get. And so, yes, I think it's a team that on the offensive side of the ball, there is no question they don't have that go-to score. You and I have talked about this before. I mean, to me, it's the mentality as you build a team. It's 10 seconds left. We're down by 1. You need to know where the ball is going. Doesn't mean that player has to get it, but you need to know where that ball should go, because you want the other team to think that's where the ball is going. They don't have that guy right now. They don't have a player where you can say, yep, that's where I want the ball to go to give ourselves a chance to get that bucket with 10 seconds left. So they don't have that right now. So it's going to be a combination of Hornsby and Scotty Lindsay and Baz Davis Jr., who I think has been a nice addition for them. Trey King has been a nice addition for them too. But the challenge is those guys they're not all the same player, but they're going to give you basically the same stat line every night. Like you're getting good mix of, I was looking at the numbers just before I came on. They're all in around 12, 13 points a game, 5 to 7 rebounds a game. Like they're all kind of the same in that sense. And that's not bad. You need that. Having that depth is huge, but they just don't have that top end guy. So to your question, will they have to outscore teams? I don't know, because there have been nights where they've been excellent defensively and where they've been able to take the pain away. Isaac Jack, a young player who's coming into his own a little bit and has actually really shown some good strides in the last couple of weeks, played for Dave Smart at Pacific. And again, not that I'm saying he's a guy that's going to be a massive, massive key to this, but he's a big body. He's a 7-footer. They can stick in the middle of the floor, who can start to take that, take the rim away a little bit and build defensively around, not around him, but around a player like that who gives you some versatility. So there are nights where they're very good defensively, but it's just that night to night, you don't know what you're going to get, who you're going to get it from. And so there are going to be nights where they beat Montreal, not quite a month ago, 98-78. Montreal's a really good team in the East. They came in here and smoked the Stingers shortly thereafter. They gave under 80 points to that Montreal team. But then their nights they're giving up. Again, they gave 108 to Saskatoon the other day. Saskatoon's come on. They played better, had a tough start. Anyway, it's a rambling answer to your question, because I don't know that I have a good answer, because, again, night to night, it's just tough to know what this team's going to give you.
But I think, Doug, the CEBL, and this, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. It is a bit of a rambling league in general, because teams come together in such a short period of time before the season starts. If they start making personnel swaps, that also affects the ability of a team to develop chemistry. Then as the season goes on, key players might be off to NBA tryouts. This certainly happened to the Stingers. You got Summer League just around the corner. You kind of have to, you have to have a stable front office organization, and then you have to be able to manage on the move. and move along. Plus, then add in just the basketball reality of every game has different matchups. So one night, Jack might be phenomenal as a 7-footer and against certain teams. And then another night, he's probably not the right fit for playing 25 minutes because the other team, the matchups just don't make sense. So you really do have to manage on the fly, don't you?
Yeah, I 100%. And I think that brings up a really good point, because I think if you look at the Stingers' evolution since 2019, I think they have been one of, if not the most stable franchises over that span, but also within each year. You go on the transaction wire on the CEBL website and you'll see players in and out and come and go. And to your point, exactly, that's what this league is somewhat built around. For the most part, the Stingers have avoided that. And they haven't, not that they haven't brought players in as the season's gone on. That happens. And again, you lose players. They lost Dane Danger, but an outstanding start to the season. He had some NBA workouts. So at least for the moment and maybe for the season, is gone from the Stingers. But for the most part, they've avoided that. They've been able to build a nucleus year in, year out. And then if you need to add a little piece here and there, you do that and off you go. This year's maybe been a bit different. They bring in Isaiah Moore, really, really talented player, played in Ottawa before this season. But chemistry is a big thing. And it was clear there was a massive lack of chemistry with him on this roster. And I don't think it's a coincidence that their play dipped when he arrived here. A player that, was noticeably having engagements with his own teammates on the floor, constantly on the officials, keeping himself out of, how many 4-on-5s we saw going the other way because he was back, on the floor kind of whining about what had just happened, that we haven't seen that kind of situation from the Stingers a lot. They've avoided that. They've had great chemistry. They've had great character. And because they've built a team from the start of the season, and other than adding little bits here and there, they've kind of moved forward. That was a bit of a break from the norm, and they released him. He lasted 5 games, and he's actually re-signed in Ottawa. And I think they had to make the move. They had to, because you could see it on the floor, the challenges that were going on, players deferring to him, the issues that I just talked about. So not to entirely pick on him, but I think it's an example where they went outside of what they've normally done, which is that stable, consistent roster in a season, went outside it, and it didn't work.
Well, and the fact that they recognized it, acknowledged it, and then made the adjustment to it, because having a cancer, and that's a pretty cruel word to attach to a particular player, but it certainly seems to a certain extent to fit that situation as you described it. If you leave it, it just grows. It doesn't get better. And so they made the adjustment. That certainly is not the kind of character or kind of chemistry that Coach Baker would want to develop. Final question for you, Doug. We're almost at the halfway point of the season. Is there a trend in the league this year that you have noticed that's a bit unique or maybe a bit different from other years? That's a
good question. Yeah, no, that's a good question though. I think, I don't know. One thing I'll touch on, I'm not sure it's a trend, but I think we're seeing the sort of super team development happen a bit, where we've seen that before, but it hasn't always worked. And, we've seen Vancouver come in here. We've seen Scarborough come in here. I will be with all due respect to Winnipeg, who is a good roster too, I'll be very surprised if we don't see Vancouver and Scarborough in the final. I just think those two teams, because of that sort of super team piece that they built in, Miles Powell, former Philadelphia 76er, Seton Hall star, has been outstanding for them. Mitch Creek gets added to what was already a stacked Vancouver roster. So that's sort of
is a difference maker.
He's just a complete. He's going to put up 28, 30 a night. He's built like a tank. Like and that was already a really, really good roster. So I'll be very surprised if those two teams aren't in it. So that's sort of that super team development. Even Winnipeg a little bit. Teddy Allen,
yes.
Xavier Moon is there, hasn't played yet, despite the fact he's been in Winnipeg for about 10 days, has not yet played for the Sea Bears. So they've tried that a little bit as well, this sort of super team idea. So I'm not sure that's a great answer to your question. It's a bit of we've seen that happen. So it's been something that's worked, but that's happened before. Maybe it hasn't worked. I think it's starting to work now for some of these teams. They're finding enough answers with these big pieces that they're bringing in, and it's starting to pay dividends. So I'll be curious how that plays out to what we talked about before, that transaction element year to year, or sorry, within season, if it changes and teams start to look a little differently about how they construct their rosters and adapt them over the course of the year.
It's going to be interesting as we go into the second half of the season. So, well, thank you, Doug, for sharing that. Tell our listeners when the next game is here at home.
Yes, the Stingers are home tomorrow afternoon against Saskatoon. You'll hear Grayson Knudsen and Kira Lyons on that call. I'm not doing that one. And also Wednesday, it'll be Grayson, not Kira. I'm not sure who's doing it Wednesday with Grayson, but that's against Calgary. So 2 very winnable games. They need that because then they got 4 straight against Vancouver and Winnipeg. So 2 top teams in the West. Stingers need to get something done here in these next 2 and then see if they can get some answers against 2 really tough teams later in the month.
And before we go, we just had Dave Drabiak from the Alberta Basketball Association on, and great interview, great discussion about the Alberta Basketball Hall of Fame. Thanks to you, Doug, of course, to Brian as well, but for all the work that you personally have done to make the Hall of Fame in the Alberta Basketball Association in the province of Alberta become a reality.
Well, thanks for that. And I mean, I think way more credit needs to go to Dave and Brian and the whole committee of people that knew all kinds of interesting names and people that I didn't know about. And but no, Dave and Brian are putting in just tons and tons of work to pull this thing together. And you know, I'm happy to do my small little part to chip in and make it a reality, because I think it's a great thing. And you know, you obviously have done a ton of work to bring basketball to life here in this province, and among many others. And it's nice to have those names and people recognized and to build it now and to see some of the additional names that will come through in the next couple of years.
Fantastic work, Doug. Doug MacLean, thanks so much for joining us today. When you get back in the microphone, behind the microphone, looking forward to hearing your calls. Thanks for joining us here on Hoop City. Doug MacLean, you're very welcome. Doug MacLean joining me here on Hoop City with Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Ryan Wolstad from the Toronto Sun. Just wrote a great article about the Toronto Raptors and their draft picks, and we're going to pick Ryan's brain about what's next for the Raptors in this offseason.
Own and run a small business? Innovative Benefits provides private health service plan setup, as well as administration services for businesses like yours. But the best part is, Innovative Benefits offers benefit plans that cost less than the industry average, 20 to 40% less. And they provide 100% coverage with no insurance company rules, administration, or interference. So if you have medical, dental, or healthcare expenses, their plans will always increase your cash flow. Visit innovativebenefits.ca for more.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is serious about cooling. In fact, we offer multiple ways to cool your home. So you better
call Legacy. Call Legacy.
If you're looking for traditional air conditioning, we got you.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Or ask us about a heat pump to help you heat and cool.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Cool with AC or cool with a heat pump. Cool your home with Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Oh, Canada. I'm owner of Catch of the Week, and not only is Catch of the Week a Canadian company, we have tons and tons of Canadian seafood in store too.
We're Canadian seafood in Edmonton.
Yes, fresh. Canadian sole, halibut and salmon, Canadian lobster, crab and mussels, Canadian oysters, and so much more Canadian.
Catch of the Week, Edmonton's best seafood. Just off the Henday in Capilano, only 5 minutes from Sherwood Park. Details and directions online at catchoftheweekedmonton.com.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. Safety, reliability, and uncommon value. Visit Subaru.ca.
Get ready for Ready Mix Concrete Wetaskiwin. Now also in Camrose and Pinoca. One call does it all. 780-352-4301.
Is your business ready to grow? Not sure how? We have your solution. We
are Stingray. Whether your customers are around the corner or across the country, Stingray connects you with radio to digital advertising, including connected TV, search and social, programmatic, digital advertising, and digital out of home. From idea to execution, we've got you covered. With creative and production, cross-platform integration, detailed reporting, and one-on-one support, it's the easy way to make your business grow. Get started now at stingraymediasolutions.com.
I'm Dr. Vance Elliott. The goal of every one of the thousands of hair restoration procedures I've performed is a full, natural-looking head of hair. I work directly with my patients for the consultation, the procedure, and the follow-up, so we can achieve the best results possible. When people see what we accomplish, I don't want them to think,
Wow, great hair transplant.
I want them to think,
Wow, great hair.
Go to drvanceelliott.com and contact us today.
A Saskatchewan boy who grew up loving and playing sports. At least we think he grew up. Listen to Kevin Carius weekday mornings from 7 to 11 on Edmonton's home for sports, Sports 1440. This is Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! We did it!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Welcome back. Hoop City, Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick. Theme of our music today is saying goodbyes. Ryan Woolstat, I mean, normally when I have you on something Earth, Wind, and Fire, Rolling Stones, not Sarah McLachlan. But we're a little bit of a melancholy theme today because this is our last day of the season. We're going to take a break. Welcome.
Yeah, nice to be here. Yeah, switching it up. Either that, sometimes more upbeat, maybe some Wu-Tang, but Sarah McLachlan, good Canadian. There you go.
Absolutely, one of the best, that's for sure. Ryan, the Raptors this week, of course, participated in the NBA draft, as is seemingly to be the pattern that the Raptors have, is when they make a draft selection, and I think it's fair to say last year with Murray Boyles, as well as that turned out, this year, same sort of reaction of like, okay, I guess the player's pretty good, but it certainly wasn't a splashy first or second round pick. But talk about the players and talk about what they very well might bring to this Raptors mixture.
Yeah, I just think these guys, they really have their types. And
yes.
They
do.
Some people, when they date, they only date the same type. When the Raptors draft, they kind of only, they have what they want and they stick with it. That sort of way works for franchises like the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder over the years. They've been a little pickier than a lot of other franchises, and you can't really argue with the results. And I think, like you said off the top, every year people seem to be like, what? This pick? What is going on here? But, I mean, most years they seem to pan out. So I don't think you can really say these guys don't know what they're doing or really freak out too much about it, because time and again, especially the last few years, like they've been hitting on all these guys. So the thing I don't get is kind of like, it's just the duplication over and over again. And,
yes.
And kind of like going for singles and doubles. Instead of like taking a swing, is what sometimes I'm like, you do need solid rotation players, but at some point, if you're not a marquee franchise that is going to attract, that guys are going to be lining up and saying, hey, I want to go to Toronto, you're not that franchise. So at some point you have to take some swing. And I just think a guy like LeBaron Phil in particular, that guy goes lottery every other draft except this really deep draft. And maybe take a swing at a guy that you really need. But like I said, I mean, they know what they're doing. It's perplexing is the word I've been using to describe it a little bit.
Well, I agree with you, because like you said, these guys know what they're doing. And the players, like when you look back at everybody was, I think the main idea at the Scotty Barnes selection was they were going to take Jalen Suggs. They're saying, how can you not take Jalen Suggs? I mean, what a phenomenal player, great run with Gonzaga, but they took Scotty Barnes. I mean, what a great selection that was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this Scotty Barnes or not? Out of the gate, you'd say probably not. Colin Murray Boyles last year, I mean, he's going to be a real good utility player for this Raptors team. tough, hard-nosed, does all the dirty work. You got to love that. But swinging for the fence, yes. That becomes an issue at some point once again, because you still, Scotty's all-star level player, but he's not an elite scorer. And Ingram is an acquired taste. Those are my words. But how do you see these two players? Are they going to both be vying for some playing time this year? What gaps do they fill for the Raptors? Or are we really going to seriously have to look at what the Raptors do in the trade market now, in the free agent market, to try to reconfigure this lineup to take it from a 46-win team to the next level?
Well, there's certainly work to be done. The problem is you don't have the space under the luxury tax to do it. You want to keep Sandro Mamukelashvili, but I just don't see how that happens unless you move a guy like Grady Dick for nothing, basically, into cap space, and you clear up the money. That's what's going to take to bring back Mamu, because right at the stands right now, they don't have enough money to do it with what he's going to get out there. And I think Alan Graves does replace some of what Mamu does. Like, he's a guy, the big that can shoot it. He rebounds. He can, put it on the floor a bit because he grew up as a point guard until he had a huge growth spurt. And Sandro Mamukelashvili can do all those things as well. I think Graves is projected as a better defensive player eventually. So, but how many rookies are going to step in? I mean, Colin Murray-Boyles obviously did it last year, but it's pretty rare for a rookie to step right in. That said, I think the plan right now is they're assuming Jakob Poeltl is going to be healthy and it's going to start. And what Bobby Webster said to me and what he said to others is he really wants to see CMB and Graves just wreaking havoc off the bench, assuming everyone's healthy. And that's interesting. So I think he could step in. Jaden Bradley, the second-round pick, is interesting as well, because this is a guy that was a big-time recruit out of North Carolina. He was a 5-star recruit, really, really highly touted. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out for him at first. At the first school he went to, but then I think it was Alabama. But once he got to Arizona, he just kept getting better and better. And he's another one of these guys they really like that just wins basketball games. He helps you do a lot of things. Like, he's a role player very similar to Jamal Shed. Like, they're a little bit different because Shed's a better defender and Bradley's probably ahead of him offensively. But they just like guys that they really like. I think they went 32-3, lost to Michigan in the semifinal. And Bradley was a big part of it. So I think they're kind of getting a competition there of these guards like Chucky Hepburn, Jamal Shed, and Jaden Bradley that really make it tough on opponents that get after it, just try to attack and have some athleticism and are just really good people and teammates. And that's obviously when we go back to me saying like taking some swings. I think also they really prioritize being good guys and good teammates. And that goes back to like maybe not taking a swim on a guy that might be a little dicier in that regard, but really, really talented. And sometimes I just think they might play it a little too safe, but I think they end up getting guys that are NBA players, which is the whole point. But like, as we said, at some point you want them to try to do a little more than that.
Ryan Wolstadt from the Toronto Sun is joining me. Paul Sir here on Hoop City with Josh Fenwick. Ryan, now let's get the rumors are flying all over the league on a whole variety of different players and franchises. One of them is that the Spurs and the Raptors are interested in Kawhi. Snowball's chance, or is this just one of those idle gossip things that just happen all the time in the offseason?
Look, when they first were connected to Kawhi Leonard years ago, I thought there's no way this guy's going to come to Toronto. Like, this is insane. And then I was proven wrong. And maybe I could be again, but I wouldn't go as far as it would be insane to think it could happen like last time. But it's very, very unlikely. Like, I covered them pretty closely that year. He was, he did his job. He was basically a mercenary. He got paid. He did the job. He won his title, and he was out. He played half the games, whatever. Like, he didn't really enjoy being outside in Toronto weather. Like, he's the guy that said garage to garage is all he does. Like, he goes from one garage to the other and never really goes outside. Yep. So I think that a guy who desperately wanted to go back to California, has all his roots there, all his family there. Do I think he'd want to come back? No. Do I think it makes sense to say that he would want to? Yes, because he wants to stay in California. And so I just think, a lot of people don't like just saying, oh, it's leverage, throwing it out there. But I just don't see how it couldn't be. I do get he has a good relationship with Alex McKechnie, the head medical guy in Toronto who helped him, who did the load management thing so well. And he'd be comfortable here because he's been here. But it just seems like highly, highly unlikely. I mean, if I'm the Raptors, you can get him for, Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick in the first, sure, I would take that bet despite his health issues, because like you kind of said, Ingram's not for everyone, and he's probably not really for me either. But if it's going to take a little more than that, I wouldn't even go for it if it even is a possibility.
Well, and the fact that Ingram was for the most part healthy last season, that's encouraging. He's not a guy that I think people gravitate towards, but he can be that guy late in the shot clock that you can go to, and he can create his own shot. And without him, I don't think Scotty has as easy a time doing that. So having that as a weapon or someone like that is really going to be important for the Raptors this year. Look at the Eastern Conference for just a second. Now you've got Giannis down in Miami. That to me is going to be really interesting. A, can he stay healthy? B, who in the world is going to shoot a three down there at the present time? But I think the real now that is done, the real intriguing situation in the East is Jaylen Brown and the Celtics. And here's my question. It seems so odd to me that after the season the Celtics had, largely due to Jaylen Brown, that there is a rift. Now, this may very well be because the Celtics prefer Tatum. When Tatum came back and seems to be healthy and seems to be set up for being back as a full-time player coming up, that Brad Stevens is saying, you know what? If I got to pick my guy's Tatum. But let's see what value we can get for Jaylen. But this is like 2 and 3 years into it. It just seems like an odd, un-Celtic-like, un-Brad Stevens-like dynamic.
Yeah, I feel like he's that's very proud and very confident and doesn't think there's any difference between himself and Jason Tatum. I don't think many people agree. Like, I think Jason Tatum, when he's healthy, is a pretty clear fringe MVP guy, like first team All-NBA caliber player. And I think Brown is like a second ballot guy, like close but not quite there. Like he's like a 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th best guy in the league versus like 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th. So it's a slight gap, but there is a bit of a gap. Like he's not quite as good. In most people's opinion, but he carries himself like he is. And I think his point is, look what we did this year. Everyone thought we were going to be absolutely stink, and we were really good again. And for the most part, I'm the main reason why. And he's always kind of had to play second fiddle, and he's also a different kind of guy. Like he's done some Twitch stuff here and there that gets him in trouble. And he made the comment, I think, that this was his favorite season ever. And even though they won the title a different season, your favorite season because you were the guy. And it's kind of weird. So they just figure a split's going to come at some point, so might as well be now. And I get it if it's pretty honest, which almost happened. But if you're going to have to settle for something a lot less, then that's where it gets pretty interesting.
Well, when you're trying to win a championship, that certainly does become interesting. I coached for a long time, Ryan, and I remember players that we would lose, and they had a good game. They were really happy. They didn't care. They had a good game. That's all that mattered. Maybe there's a bit of that in Jaylen. The interesting thing, though, would be what could Boston get for him? And what could Jaylen Brown do for another franchise as an impact player, as the guy? That would be interesting. So I am curious to see what kind of deals, because, and I'm curious in your take on this, the way players are being traded now, like the Giannis trade, those kind of deals are fewer and further between. And if this doesn't pan out in Miami, this could be the last of them, because people go, why are we giving up our future for a broken down guy who's playing 40 games this year and isn't ready for the playoffs again, which really has been the trend in Giannis's career. So when you get guys in their early 30s that are starting to have chronic year after year problems, you're taking a big gamble and you're giving up so much. And that is, in turn, my last thought would be, that's why you have the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's what they did. And look what they turned it into, as opposed to the trades going out and what they turned into.
Yeah, no, I agree, Paul, for a lot of reasons. I mean, there's that. There's the fact that the first round picks seem even more valuable now, because there's a bigger chance that it's a high pick because of the lottery changes that they kind of like. A lot of these picks that you knew were kind of going to be end of the lottery or even into the 20s, now there's a chance that they're much higher than that with all the new convoluted rules. So teams might be more hesitant to throw them into packages. The other thing is, like with Giannis, you were saying, like how many of these big guys have been have played so many minutes early on are still dominant for years to come. Like, this is a huge risk for Miami. Like Shaquille O'Neal, he's a different category, but he's like a wrecking ball. Like Giannis, he was never the same guy after a bunch of years. You know, his last good years were in Miami, and then it fell off a cliff. Even Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan, two of the all-time greats, who took great care of themselves. Eventually, like, they weren't the same guy. Like, is Giannis really going to be the same guy? That's the question I have. And then, yeah, just like, they kind of remind me like Miami when they formed that super team and they had no depth and they lost to Dallas and it was a big upset, but they had no shooting at all, like kind of like this team. And they had just gone so hard to get LeBron and Bosh to give with Dwayne Wade that they had nothing else. And it took them till that second year before they were able to kind of figure out ways to add the pieces. And I wonder if that's going to be the same thing with this kind of Giannis Bam Adebayo super team. If it's going to take them like at least a year before they have the ability to kind of give them the pieces they need to really be as good as on paper people are expecting.
It's going to be interesting. Of course, you never count Pat Riley or Eric Spoelstra out of any equation, but I think Eric's going to have some extra chili sauce in the mix this year to make this really, really come together, as talented as Giannis has been. Ryan Wolstad, Toronto Sun, final question. This is kind of out of left field. Why in the world would Minnesota and Charlotte make that trade?
Well, I get it a little more for Charlotte because it kind of speaks to what we've been talking about throughout this conversation about guys that are a little different sometimes. You don't want to bank on them. We'll put it that way. And LaMelo is a different cat. He's a different guy. He's extremely talented. And that kind of contradicts what I said because that was one guy the Raptors were going to take a chance on a swing. They love, from whatever, they really like this guy. They have for years, and they were kind of willing to take a swing on a guy like that versus a guy like John Moran, who's a different kettle of fish altogether. Like, you know, LaMelo Ball's
do not touch.
Player.
That's the sign over Jaws thing is do not touch this. This one's not going to work, guys.
No, it's different. Like, he can't shoot, and LaMelo is a great shooter. It's just the problem with LaMelo is he takes the craziest shots in the world, pretty much. Like, and if he could ever rein that in, he'd be awesome. I think Charlotte realized they were never going to get him to rein it in. They thought they had enough with some of the other guys. They could replace a bit of it with Kobe White and have a bunch of more money to spend, and that's why they did it. I think they just wanted to. Also, he's been injured a lot.
Yes,
that was part of it. So that's why they did it. For the Wolves, I think they are really worried that Anthony Edwards is going to go home to Atlanta down the line, and they're doing everything possible. They're throwing things at a wall and hoping it sticks. I know they're friends. They were in the same draft class. They were both in the running to go first overall that year. Like, I think they're hoping that this somehow works and gives them an insane backcourt, and it keeps Edwards there longer. So that's my best explanation for that. But it was an interesting one for sure.
Well, and I think with Minnesota, they've made some interesting choices, giving up the house for Rudy, you know, and people have thrown a lot of bricks at him saying that's crazy. And in a lot of ways it was, but they got to 2 conference finals. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you say in its own weird, disconnected way, it kind of worked. But now with Edwards, you're right. Atlanta's ascendance now as an attractive franchise to play, led by an Edmontonian. By the way, it's going to be really interesting. This to me is baffling because if for no other reason, both Edwards and Ball are high usage players, and Ball is so frequently injured, and now Edwards is getting injured more often as well. Maybe that's part of the reasoning that if Edwards is going to play 50 or 60 games, and the same with LaMelo, at least you're going to have one of them for 50 or 60 games.
Yeah, and maybe they had to make a splash too because it looks really bad. They gave away Karl Anthony Towns, who just helped the Knicks win the title, so they had to make a splash to kind of make people forget about that. So they basically get rid of Randall, who came back for Cat, and now they get LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, weird move. But the Eastern Conference certainly has taken over the headlines this week anyway, and I know coming up we're going to see a lot happening in the West, particularly what LeBron's next decisions are. Ryan, thanks so much for making time today. Really appreciate it. I hope you have a great summer, and looking forward to talking with you in the fall when we get back and talking more Raptors.
For sure. Enjoy the break. Enjoy the summer.
All right. Ryan Wolstad, NBA Toronto Raptor writer for the Toronto Sun. Read his stuff. Ryan does such a phenomenal job. You go online and read his articles. When we take after this break, when we come back, we're going to say our goodbyes for this season. So thanks so much for joining us this morning, and I'm looking forward to our next segment as we wrap this season up here on Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Josh Fenwick, on your sports leader, Sports 1440.
Lux Windows was founded in 1969 with 5 people and a dream. 55 years later, our team of experts cares a whole lot about building and installing the best possible windows and doors. Because Lux is not just an Alberta-made product. We're one big Alberta-made family. Everything we are is windows and doors. A company born and bred and made in Alberta.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. The perfect choice for Alberta's challenging weather and road conditions. Visit Subaru.ca.
You've done it. Sweaty and short of breath. But with the new bike, you finally did it. A personal best on the toughest trail you've ever challenged. And by a very respectable margin. Congratulations. But just because you did it by yourself, it doesn't mean you got here alone. You had a strong team at your back the whole way. From St. Albert's Source for Sports. Whether you're looking for a brand new ride from top brands like Specialized and Garneau, or your current bike needs a professional tune-up to help you get over that next hill, St. Albert's Source for Sports is your local biking headquarters. We service and sell a great selection of Evo electric bikes too. Our experts will help you find a perfect fit, and our full service shop handles everything from simple adjustments to complete overhauls. And if you're looking for baseball gear, we've got all your bases covered. St. Albert's Source for Sports, your source for hockey, bikes, baseball, and more for over 36 years.
Wednesday, July 1st, the free agent pool is open for swimming, and Sports 1440 has the perfect man to dive in. Join Lowtide from 10 till 1 as he explores the depths of free agency with special guests and live insights. Powered by Booster Juice. No water wings required.
He's a legend in the booth and a master on the mic.
Low Tide brings the banter weekdays from noon to 2.
Sports 1440 is where Edmonton talks sports. Get in the game. Text 833-401-1440. This is Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports
1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry. We did it.
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
The great Leonard Cohen, closing time, which it is, as our season comes to an end. And like everything, every season has to come to an end. And I want to spend this last segment focusing on why this was a very, very special season on Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440. Of course, Josh Fenwick, I'll start with you. Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you this year, and I'm hopeful that when we come back in the fall, this works into your schedule as well. I know how busy you are, but love your energy, enthusiasm, knowledge, and willingness to go into the weeds to talk hoops with me.
Yeah, busy guy, sure, but I think I could squeeze out 2 hours a week for this.
That's great. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, I can squeeze out some time. I can work it in.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Josh.
I've had a lot of fun this year, Paul, and I'm looking forward to continuing our work together.
Absolutely.
Because we're only getting better.
Well, we are. And I take a lot of pride in the fact that this started with the vision 11 years ago, 11 seasons ago, of bringing a basketball exclusive program to the radio waves in this understandably hockey crazy market. But beyond that, I think what's been most gratifying about hosting this show is that with technology being as it is, YouTube, being on the sports1440.ca, the kind of reach that we can have, we have listeners and viewers from all over now. And it's just so much fun. And being able to have the privilege, and it's interesting, I don't mind sharing my age. I'm 72 years old. And I've been around the game my whole life, and I honestly can say I enjoy talking about it as much today as I ever have in my entire life. I have enjoyed all of the eras I've been privileged both as a player, as a coach, as a general manager, as a administrator. I've had such a great run in the sport of basketball, but I still enjoy talking about it as much today as I ever have. I do want to give acknowledgement to a number of really special people that I am very, very grateful for over the course of this past season. Kevin Carius, as you know, left the station yesterday, left Sports 1440, moving on into retirement. My conversations with Kevin through the course of this year were always so much fun. You just really can't find a more enjoyable, affable, knowledgeable guy than Kevin. And I was always looked forward to our conversation. And by the way, I think the addition of Tom Gazzola as the morning host, wow, what a coup. That's fantastic. Tommy is just he's fantastic. Of course, I always love talking with Low Tide whenever he'd have me on. And a special thanks to Jason Greger, not only for the opportunity when Connor, Hallie, and he would have me on, but also for just the visionary that Jason is. I remember early on, and I don't know Jason that well on a personal basis, but what I know is he's one of the hardest working people, not just in the industry, but in any industry. And he's approached this relationship with Sports 1440 with such passion and zeal, and has assembled a first-class radio, sports radio lineup that delivers, I think, on a daily basis, something really special primarily to our community, but certainly, again, beyond because of technology's reach. So Jason Greger is just somebody really, really to be thanked, and I think in the Edmonton community. And it's not all that it's certainly not what he does in terms of running on the air. It's all that he does in the community that benefits so many people. So hats off to Jason Greger. And of course, Brandon, Declan, just fantastic young people that I just feel privileged to be around. And then also want to thank Marty and Susan from the Sports 1440, from the management here at the station. Such quality people doing a remarkable job in an era when much of traditional media is on a downward slide. It's been a slow, gradual, painful death for so many traditional media outlets, whether that's in print, on radio, on television, the consolidation, the advent of all of the different ways that people consume information, and the way that people consume information has changed so much. Yet in the midst of it, there's this diamond, and the sister stations of Sports 1440, the way they've been able to maintain the interest in the market and the connection to the marketplace is really something special for Edmonton, for anywhere. And Susan and Marty certainly deserve a lot of credit for that. I want to give a special acknowledgement to some of the guests that I've had the privilege to have on multiple times over the course of this year. And I'll start with Ben Golliver. Ben has become a friend ever since I met Ben in an elevator at the Las Vegas Summer League in 2016. And Ben consequently ran a story in Sports Illustrated, who we worked with at that time, about my son Steve, who at age 33 was playing with the Milwaukee Bucks in that Summer League. And Ben gave an acknowledgement to him. And since then, Ben's been on my show regularly and was on our show almost on a weekly basis through the first 3 quarters of the season, really. But then Ben he had been let go by the Washington Post. Shame on them, idiots that they were. But it was what was Ben being let go led to something bigger and better, as he's now one of the big NBA voices at ESPN. Always make time to read or listen to Ben Golliver. No one knows the sport better from the inside out, and there's not a higher quality person in the world that I've had the privilege to meet. Pat Boylan, the great voice of the Indiana Fever and the Indiana Pacers, always trying to find a way to make time for us, as is Alan Horton, the voice of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Alan and Pat have been on the show numerous times, generous with their time as well. But to be able to go courtside, to be able to go in the locker room with Ben, Alan, Pat, just fantastic. Just fantastic guests. Such a privilege to be able to bring that kind of insight and that kind of connection to what we're doing. And then, of course, Ryan Wolstad, who was just on. Ryan's been on with us many times. To have that Canadian voice, who I consider to be the most knowledgeable and what I think is wonderful, somewhat irreverent voice in a country that oftentimes tends towards being just the nice guy. Ryan's a very nice guy, but he speaks his mind, and he's really, really smart and really, really knowledgeable. At this time, too, I have to give a shout out to my wonderful wife of many, many decades, Sandra, who's put up with my obsession with the game of basketball throughout all these years. She sacrificed a lot for me to pursue this passion. I'm so proud of my sons. My son, Steve, still 19 years later, holding the NCAA record for three-point shooting percentage. 19 years. Think of that he's held this record for players making 300 or more three-pointers in their career, almost 2 decades. And now to continue on with great professional success in 5-on-5, then becoming Canada's top-ranked 3x3 player for many years, and now doing so well as the national team coach for Mongolia. In this last week alone, Mongolia's men won their challenger in Ulaanbaatar, and the women won their women's series. This is a non-basketball country. Steve's leadership is instrumental to that. I'm proud of my son, Sam, and his wife, Mallory, who are teachers in our school system. And, of course, my son, Ethan, who was an All-Canadian at Concordia. Sam played for me at Concordia, was a great player, too. Ethan was All-Canadian, now a wildly successful stand-up comedian who's doing great, great things in that area. And, of course, wrap up with the song that we're listening to now by Worst Days Down, written and performed by my son, Ben, in tribute to his friend, David Finkelman, who lost his life at an intersection due to the careless driving of someone, and Ben paid tribute to him. And then we lost Ben just over 3 years ago as he battled trauma and addiction. No kinder soul. He suffered, but all through it all, Ben was kind to others, did many, many things for many, many people who had less than nothing going in their lives to try to help them. And my message all year, and thank you for listening, be kind to others. We aren't walking a mile in our brother or sister's shoes, so always be kind. Think the best of others. And the people in your life that you love, make sure that you tell them that you love them. I wish Ben was here right now for me to tell him how much I love him. To all of you that have listened all year long, it has been an absolute pleasure and privilege and honor to be with you every week. Josh, thank you once again.
Thank you, Paul. The year's been a riot. Looking forward to next year already.
Same here. You've been listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir on your sports leader, Sports 1440.
Your cabin by the lake is your peaceful retreat, a home away from the terrors of everyday life. Just one tiny thing. It's full of ants and spiders.
Oh, I want them gone.
You've poured love, money, and effort into your lakeside retreat. Don't let ants and spiders ruin your summer. You need BuzzBoss, Canada's trusted pest control experts. Their licensed technicians protect your property from outdoor pests with 100% guaranteed results. Trust BuzzBoss Home Pest Defense for pet, kid, and eco-friendly pest solutions. BuzzBoss.com.
When it comes to sports in Edmonton, Jason Greger is a must-listen. He brings you the inside scoop with guests from across North America. If it matters in sports, you'll hear it here first. Greger rolls out weekdays from 2 to 6 on Sports 1440.
I'm Dr. Vance Elliott. The goal of every one of the thousands of hair restoration procedures I've performed is a full, natural-looking head of hair. I work directly with my patients for the consultation, the procedure, and the follow-up, so we can achieve the best results possible. When people see what we accomplish, I don't want them to think,
"Wow, great hair transplant."
I want them to think,
"Wow, great hair."
Go to drvanceelliott.com and contact us today.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. Confidence in motion. Visit Subaru.ca.
Any project, big or small, when you need metal cut,